Hey, super friends. My name is Neil, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Get Your Comic Con podcast. We are here fortnightly ish to bring you a slice of film, TV, and pop culture goodness from around the multiverse. And this episode, we are going to be diving deep into the future of DC Studios and the DCU now that Superman has been out for a few weeks. But I can't talk about all of this by myself. I need some help. So I have a couple of helpers who are joining us for this episode. Please welcome back Aaron and Michael. Here they are.
Oh, hey, hello.
Okay, almost completely perfectly managed the tech. For anybody who is watching this on YouTube, this is the first time we're recording a podcast using StreamYard. We normally record these things on Zoom, but we have switched platforms, and I am figuring out how technology works.
A learning curve. You've got this.
Back to regularly scheduled programming. How are you both doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad. I'm intrigued to start to talk about this because we'll probably get onto this in a bit anyway, but the way Superman kind of leaves off, there's a lot they could and the words. We're only 5 seconds into this and I'm already ruining it. There's a lot of possibilities, but I'm going to shut up because I can't coherent sentences. Good start, yay! That's your clip for Instagram.
Oh, this bodes so well for how this is going to go. Michael, how are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. I feel like comic book movies in a really good space, so I think it's very exciting time to be a bit of a nerd. So I'm having a very good time.
As we are recording this, the results for how Fantastic Four is going to have done in its second weekend are probably going to come out, and it's looking like it's not going to have performed quite as well as people were hoping, which is a shame for such a great movie. But it's actually good news for Superman because it shows just how well Superman has performed and how great its legs have been at the box office. But we're going to get into all of that in just a minute. Plan for this episode, we're going to talk a bit about Superman, and see if these guys have any questions they want to try and task me with as to things in the film that might be deep cuts from the comic books, because we know James Gunn loves a deep cut. Then we're going to chat a bit about some of the confirmed projects that are from the DC universe that are coming up, like Supergirl and Lanterns and season 2 of Peacemaker. And then I think we're just going to go wild and maybe touch on some of the stuff that has been rumored to be in development or is in development. They know that James Gunn has spoken about, and things that we would like to see, characters we'd like to see, or people we'd like to see interact that we've already seen on screen. The options are kind of endless at this point. But let's start at what has been... It's technically not the beginning of the DCU, but it has been for the UK audience, which is Superman. And I have to remind myself, because I put it in the plan, spoilers. If you have not seen Superman yet, pause this and come back and watch it later, because at this point, anything is fair game. We might ruin major spoilers for you. So everyone knows that I loved this movie. It's now been in the cinema for 3 weeks. I have seen it 5 times, and it's been nearly a week and a half since the last time I saw it, and I'm really craving seeing it again. So I think I'm going to have to book in a 6th viewing. Aaron, give me your headline review of Superman 2025.
Right, so I've only seen it once, mainly because so much has come out. I've only had the time to see it once, but I do desperately want to see it again. I think I best described this in the last episode that you and me did, is that It kind of feels like a Superman omnibus, like comic form, but in film form, that it's rattling through a lot of storylines and a lot of things very quickly, and it doesn't really take the time to explain a lot of it. It's just like boom, 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 right out the gate. And whereas that would usually annoy me with some films, I like the fact that it doesn't hold your hand and just kind of goes, right, here's this pre-established world, we're just going to go headfirst into it. And I really enjoyed it. I don't think it's my favourite James Gunn film, but it's got that same energy that he brought to Guardians of the Galaxy and the Suicide Squad. I think visually it's gorgeous, and I think it's got one of my favourite scores of the year. But yeah, it's not, from my point of view, it's a bit iffy around the edges, but the overall enjoyment factor of the film is spot on. I really enjoy this, and I do desperately want to see it again because I feel like I missed a lot on that first viewing.
Yeah. Yeah. Michael, what about you?
I loved it. I'm not like super well versed in Superman comics, but
Yeah.
my experience with Superman is like through the animated TV shows and
Yeah.
the games and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of vaguely remember as a kid watching the like old films with my dad. And
Oh, nice.
it just reminded, it was very nostalgic feeling. So it was really good. I really liked it. I'd agree that it's maybe not my favorite James Gunn film, but not
Yeah.
because it's bad. I just think there's other films that I prefer. Um, but yeah, I really liked it. I thought a lot of it was really, really promising and really exciting. I think DC's kind of been like down and out a little bit, like compared to Marvel, I guess, like in the
Yeah.
film space. So it was really exciting to see them kind of come in swinging and doing like a really good job. So yeah,
Yeah.
really good. Loved it.
Fun fact, if it ends up outgrossing Fantastic Four, which the signs kind of are at the moment that it will, then it will be the highest grossing comic book movie of 2025 because there are no more comic book movies this year. And that will be the first time that DC has had the highest grossing comic book movie at the global box office since 2008.
Well,
Domestically in the US, Wonder Woman beat whatever film was out that year. That might have been Homecoming, but globally was the other way around. But yeah, this could be the first time that they've had the highest grossing comic book movie in nearly 2 decades, which is pretty exciting for them, I think.
yeah.
The reason, of course, that I said it's the UK introduction to the DCU is the fact that Creature Commandos only came out almost the day and date that Superman came out. But if you weren't aware and you're in the UK, you can now stream all episodes of Creature Commandos on Sky and Now. If you were in the US, that was out on HBO Max back in December, and that was the kind of true introduction to the DCU. Anything did you think, because I said to both of you, I think, if there's anything that you can think of that you wanted to be like, is that a comic book thing, or like, was that river of Minecraft blocks a comic book reference, or what the hell was that baby that he was throwing around? Was there anything that you were like, what is this? This must be a comic book reference. Where did this come from while you were watching it?
I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Because even I, and I'm pretty sure I said this on Cinema Savvy, the first time I watched it, that whole Minecraft River of Rainbow Blocks thing, I sat there and I thought, this feels on the edge of too much for me. And if it feels on the edge of too much for me, I was like, I do not know what a general audience is going to make of this.
It was pretty insane to watch. I remember like as it was like unfolding and like there was going into like the black hole and like there was like using the baby and all that kind of stuff. I was like, this is a little bit wacky. It was like only James Gunn would make a sequence like this. It was kind of bizarre. And I can't really remember it very well. Like the details slip me, but I remember in that moment being like, what the hell is this? But in like a good way.
Yeah, because I think the wildest thing we've ever seen Superman really do on film in live action is fly around the planet backwards to reverse time.
Yeah.
When you go back to like any of the Reeve movies or Superman Returns or Man of Steel, yeah, there's a lot of like intense sci-fi action going on. You know, Man of Steel had all that incredible Kryptonian technology that was so beautifully designed on screen. But I don't think he's ever done anything as wild as flying through a rainbow Minecraft river in a pocket dimension carrying a small baby.
Yeah.
I should say. Green baby.
Green baby.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say maybe snapping Zod's neck, but that's a whole other can of worms.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, that really is. I think for me, the thing that I look forward to the most every time I see it now, that sounds terrible. Like, you know, when I go see it today, and then when I go see it again tomorrow, it's just how optimistic and hopeful it is. I saw someone's now. There must be a pirated version of it available somewhere. But I saw somebody had tweeted the wonderful, wonderful speech that he gives after he's flown into Lex Luthor's tower, and Lex is bemoaning him, and he's like, for God's sake, I get up every single day. I make a choice to save people. I make mistakes, but I still choose to help people. And I'm just like, it's so Superman. It's beautiful. I love that moment. It's incredible. And I think that's the thing that stands out the most to me is how well his character is written in amongst all of that wacky, like multicolored James Gunn craziness.
Mm.
Yeah. I feel like Superman as a character is often kind of weighed down in like his responsibility. Like he's never really
Yeah,
fun. Like especially in like the
yeah,
games and like the TV shows I've seen and like the odd comic, he's
yeah,
often like really like yeah, like he's got so much responsibility on his shoulders. And this is the first time I've seen it where like yeah, you do see him as a human, and it was just really a great
Mm.
rendition of the character. So it's really
yeah,
sweet.
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there's not many characters that can get away with explaining to you who they are themselves on
Mm.
screen,
No.
but he can in that moment, which is, I think, why it's so beautiful.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Mm. No, I really agree with what was just said, because because like for me, I know there are tons of iconic portrayals of Superman, but like the default one that comes into my head besides Christopher Reeve is the one from the animated Justice League show in the 2000s, where
Yeah,
he is like the stereotypical version you'd expect to see of Superman, where he's very stoic
yeah,
and doesn't take no for an answer, so to speak. So to see a human side to him, which we haven't really seen that
no,
much of, it's kind of refreshing, and I think that kind of plays part in part with how they approach um like how he views his parents and how they kind of twist that throughout the film, which again, it's something I was going to kind of ask about. I don't know whether
yeah,
that's something they've uniquely done for the film, or whether that whole plot line of Lex going into the Fortress of Solitude, finding the full message, that whole thing. I was throughout the entire film, my brain was going, "This feels like something that would happen in the comics," but at the same time, this does feel like also something that James Gunn would uniquely make for the sake of the theme of the film.
Hmm.
that message. There are a few different versions of that message in the comics, but it wasn't a million miles away. Um,
Mm,
I don't know that I've ever read a storyline where Lex has used that to manipulate him before, but certainly that message can be quite
mm,
controversial, um,
Hmm.
because really they're supposed to be so technologically advanced as a species that they don't. It's not like they are looking down and being like, "You will rule them,"
mm,
but it is a "You will be superior." Just because you are superior, you will have powers, and it's
mm,
supposed to be a little bit more matter of fact and a bit more accidentally arrogant, just from a point of view of they were such an advanced
mm,
species that
Hmm.
they just knew that he would be seen as something
mm.
godlike because he would have powers. Um, I really like the way he twisted it, though. I thought you were going to ask me about Ma and Pa Kent there and how they are portrayed in this film compared to other films,
No,
which is something that people seem to like talking about a lot.
I mean that didn't even cross my mind. It's more just a case of like my brain. Again, I might be misremembering previous films, but like when I think the Christopher Reeve one, when I think
Yeah,
of the Man of Steel one, it is just that first half of the message that you kind of take as, oh, that's just the whole message of
yeah,
like you're going to be sent to Earth
yeah,
and you're going to protect them and all that sort of thing. And that's kind of what I thought was the norm. And this film kind of went, oh no, actually, there's a bit more to it, and it's a bit darker.
yeah,
Um, yeah, that was the. I didn't even consider the Marpar Kent aspect. It was more just a case of like, well, because this is new and refreshing, just for that one simple little aspect that we kind of take for granted.
yeah,
I wasn't 100% sure if like, oh, is this a James Gunn thing, or is this
yeah.
a comic
It doesn't.
thing, or is
Yeah,
it like a half and half?
I think it's a half and half. I would say
Mm,
it's a half and half. That
Hmm.
message is fairly true to comics, but is used in a fairly unique James Gunn type
mm.
way. Um,
I have a question for you both. What
yes,
did you think of the evil, like, clone of Superman storyline in this film? Obviously, for me, I'm aware of this through, like, Injustice 2 and, like,
yes.
all of the games and stuff. And I was surprised to see it here so early on. So I was curious
Mm,
what you guys thought of it.
Yeah, I that was one unfortunate plot point that was never a surprise for me. So,
Fair.
when the mask comes off and
Mhm.
the cinema's like I'm like, "Really? Did
Really?
none of you know? It was obvious from the beginning."
Yeah.
So there's a few different versions of Ultraman in the comics. Ultraman is sometimes a alternate universe version of Superman,
mm,
from Earth 3. Someone will come for me and say no, it's Earth 4. Pretty sure it's Earth 3 from
Well,
kind of an Injustice League where they're all versions of the Justice League, but they're evil.
Yeah.
Which is something that you see in games quite a lot. They've liked to use them in games, and if you're playing DC Worlds Collide, which is the new mobile game, they're quite prominent in that, which is actually a really fun game. But then there's also other versions where it's a clone. They just made it a Lex clone, not a clone of Lex, a clone made by Lex for this film. So there's precedent for it in the comics as well. And I wondered whether the fact that he didn't really have the ability to speak all that much and him getting thrown through a black hole might mean that we see him again down the line and he might be Bizarro, possibly. Because his suit was also, if you want to go really, really deep and also look at some of the toys, that suit that he is wearing is a little bit purple. And traditionally, Bizarro is a backwards version of Superman who has a somewhat purple costume. So I wonder whether James Gunn's hedging his bets that there could be some more storytelling for that character if he gets back out of that black hole.
Okay.
Didn't think of that.
For me, it was it was a weird one because I kind of took it for granted, but also was like, I think similar to you, Michael, I was like, this seems really early to be doing a thing like that. But they kind of wrapped it up very, very quickly anyway. So I was like, okay, never mind.
You get that fun little shoulder pop just to make you wince after he's thrown him into the black hole.
See, I'd conveniently forgotten about the shoulder pop, and now you've just put it back in my head, and now I'm disturbing. Yay.
Nice.
But
so I have something that I could sort of say on that point, which is something that James Gunn said at one of or all of his Q&As when he was in London promoting the film, but it's something that I love, and I have banged on about this point to anyone who will listen to me talk about it, which is basically when you pick up a comic book, if you think about the first time either of you picked up a comic book, it probably wasn't 1938's, Action Comics #1 or Superman #1 from a year or so later, or even a recent #1. It was probably, well, actually, possibly in both of your cases, it was What Did Neil Send Me and Tell Me That I Needed to Review.
Where did you get that from?
But it was probably more likely the first thing that you walked into a comic book shop and was like, that's a cool cover, I'm going to pick that up, because that's what most of us do. And so you end up coming into the world of comic books through whatever was the thing that you picked up off the shelf, which probably landed you in the middle of a story arc or the middle of some kind of event or something where everything was already in play. And so he felt like, let's try that approach on film rather than starting at the beginning and doing, the same as what's been tried before or what Marvel is doing and has always done, and try let's start at the beginning of the world and then we can go back and tell stories which are from the beginning of it or in the past or in the future and do all these other magical things, which I actually really appreciate. But I also understand why people are then like, well, hang on a minute, I feel like I've just been plopped in the middle of the action and I kind of want to know what happened at the start. I guess in a way that just makes you more interested for more storytelling to learn what happened in the beginning, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I think I've kind of seen something similar with the Fantastic Four as well. Like, we know these characters in the stories. Like, we know Superman, we know his background. So I kind of appreciated being just dropped in it. Like, I don't need to see all of that again. We know it. So I kind of appreciate it, to be fair.
I feel like, because the weird one with Fantastic Four is that obviously because it's on its own universe, you can just watch that separately. But
which I love.
I feel like, and I know this is a weird comparison because it's the whatever numbered film in the MCU compared to Superman, which is the first, is that I feel like Thunderbolts worked really well in that same regard. Like, you could technically just watch it on its own. Yeah, having that prior knowledge of the characters kind of helps, but at the same time, you can just watch that on its own, and you get a good gist of each character pretty much from the word go, which again feels like that approach of you coming into a comic series like halfway through it. But with Superman, I think, I don't know, it's a weird, again, because I've only seen it the once, it's a weird one to kind of summarize because it is the first film and it's taking that approach. it can feel like a lot is being thrown at you all of the entire runtime, whereas something like Fantastic Four or Thunderbolts, or even, I don't know, Brave New World is a little bit trickier because there is so much pre-contextual stuff that kind of loses you. It is one of those things where it's like, yeah, I can go back and watch those other films to make sense of it, but there is also this standalone thing where Superman is like, kind of going off what James Gunn said, it's like, yes, it throws a lot at you, but those pre-contextual things we haven't seen them yet, and they won't come out until later on. So I think I can completely understand both sides of the coin, because it can feel like informationally and like character wise, it can feel like a lot is being thrown at you. I think it balances it all well, but on that first viewing, it takes a while to digest all of it if you're not au fait with the comics. 100%.
I feel like if it was really plain, like if the story was really stripped back, I think it would have been a really poor start to this new DC universe. So I kind of liked that it was information overload, because there was a lot to digest and take in, and it made it feel promising. Like it wasn't just like here's one story, who knows what we'll do next. Like there's things to pull apart and analyze, which it's what makes the MCU so successful. Kind of like what is coming potentially, so it gets you into it a bit more.
And then leading into what we were going to kind of talk about next, which is, other projects which are confirmed or happening in the DCU. One thing that I do think is really interesting, and I think shows James Gunn's logical thinking, is if you do go and now watch Creature Commandos, we've never seen any of those characters before. Well, we've seen Weasel in the Suicide Squad, but most of those characters we've never seen before, and they are given introductions through flashbacks in individual episodes, because each character kind of has an episode that focuses on them throughout the season as they're becoming a team. So I feel like what we're seeing with Gunn, and this idea of the universe he's trying to build, is if it's a character that the audience knows well, in theory, like Superman, then perhaps we don't need to retread origins. But when it's somebody that we don't know, like a group like the Creature Commandos, then, okay, cool, I'm going to give you a bit more of that information and be a little bit more traditional in the approach to make sure that you don't get plopped in and think, I have no idea what's going on and who these people are, which is quite exciting to see. I also wonder with Krypton, whether part of the decision not to show Krypton in Superman is because we'll probably spend some time there in Supergirl, releasing in cinemas on June 26th, 2026, which is our next film in the franchise.
That was very subtle.
Because he's really cleverly gone for Tom King's Woman of Tomorrow storyline as a kind of basis for her version of the character in the DCU, which, if you haven't read it, please do, because it is a brilliant book. And I know a lot of people have come up to me and kind of been like, why the F was she drunk and a mess? It's like, because that is exactly how she is when you open that book. When you open that book, she's face down in a bar, off her face, on an alien planet, because she is, in this storyline, very much suffering from the PTSD of having had 10, 12 years of life on Krypton, that she then watched the planet fall apart and watched all the people around her that she loved die before getting stuck for years in space, thinking she was going to protect this baby who's actually now older than she is when she finally gets brought out of her pod. So she's allowed to be a bit of a hot mess. But let's go on to like future DCU stuff. What did you think of the Supergirl tease in Superman as a little transitional point, and does that make you excited for what you're going to see of her in her film, releasing in cinemas on June 26th, 2026?
Yeah, I feel like, again, as a fan of like the animated DC world and like the games specifically, Supergirl is obviously a really big deal, and she can kick ass. So I think she's a character that, like, obviously we all kind of know her in name, but like maybe you've not read her comics. So I think it's going to be a really interesting time to see that character come to the big screen. And we need more like female fronted comic book films, and she's the perfect person to do that. So yeah, I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah, I'm intrigued because we didn't get much of her in the film, but it left enough for like
Concentration.
yes,
Yeah,
it leveled,
very.
yes, it very much did, and I think Craig Gillespie is a good director for that sort of
Mm,
thing. It's especially using Cruella as like the only
yeah,
other
Yeah.
film to really go off of. That's, I mean, not character wise, they're two different ends of the spectrum, but like tonally, I can see what he might bring to the table a little bit.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, I'm intrigued. I've this is the annoying thing because after Superman released, the one thing I wanted to do is read more Superman comics, and I know a lot of people said that like All Star Superman
yeah,
and the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow comic were like the definite ones to read to get an understanding of Superman and Supergirl. Of course, you
yeah,
can't get your hands on them now because everyone's trying to do the same bloody thing.
yeah. It's
Um,
insane how much James Gunn even mentioning a title makes it
hmm.
just fly to the top of the Amazon charts.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
I had the paperback version of Super All Star Superman in my Amazon wish list, and now it's just like so every copy, every version of it, even the Italian one, is is sold out. And I'm like, the only version I can get is the German one, and I can't read German. Um,
You read Italian? Just off as a sidebar there to
hmm,
that.
no, but that's the only one that was available last week, and even that one's just sold out. So
I mean,
I
you can
guess
read them digitally. You could always go digital.
Yeah.
true. I didn't think of that. I'm so used to having those
Yeah.
the trade paperback in my hand.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can read it.
You could get your translate on your iPhone and just kind of scan it with your phone and read it that way.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that. Now you're making me look stupid, both of you. But
I'm
yes, I'm
really
looking forward to Supergirl coming out June 26th, 2026. I am looking forward to it.
I wonder how the general audience will take a tonal shift because I feel like it could be a little bit of whiplash for the audience because I think it's going to be quite different. Um, I think Gillespie will try and find the fun in it, and I think he will find the
Mm.
fun in it because she's going to be hopping between all of these different planets, going to all of these random like dive bars and clubs and stuff, meeting all of
Do you-
these different alien races that exist out there. But at the same
yeah.
time, there's a very heartfelt and important story underneath it about her finding who she is, whilst helping this young girl whose father was murdered. And that kind of underpins all of it. So I think
Mm.
it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out.
In my head, I'm for some reason thinking of like and like tonally. I could be completely wrong when it comes out, but like in my head, I'm thinking of this ending up being. And again, this is going off someone who hasn't read that comic. It could be
Hmm.
something halfway between Hancock and Guardians of the Galaxy tonally.
Hmm.
I feel like that's where it could go. Like visually, obviously, hopping around different planets, you have that Guardians of the Galaxy sort of thing. But in terms of that sort of this person who's like super powered, but honestly just doesn't care, and that sort of thing where they're kind of not using their powers as they could be using them. I
Yeah.
feel like I know that's a weird comparison to make, but for some reason, knowing how she acted in this film, and again knowing that it's kind of doubled down on in that story, I feel like for some reason Hancock's the only thing that's really coming to me.
Interesting. Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know why. It's just they might borrow bits from that. They might just leave it alone. I don't know, but that's the only comparison I've got.
I think the Cruella comparison is quite interesting because in the poster that we've seen, it's the spray paint over look up and it's look out, and that feels
Yeah.
very Cruella coded. So I think you're
Yeah,
onto something.
Yeah, it's true. She might have a lot of that kind of spunkiness about her.
if it carries over like the punky anarchic
Yeah.
sort of tone of Cruella,
Mm.
I'm fully on board with that. Especially
Yeah.
considering if it uses a similar sort of soundtrack that Superman did. I feel like that could be where it finds that sweet spot of taking elements from the Superman film that worked, i.e., the visuals and the soundtrack, and then Greg Gillespie taking what he did with Cruella and just kind of finding a weird sweet spot. I don't quite know how it would work or how it would look, but I feel like that's where that's where the join will be.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
is that
And the thing that I love as well, and I do not want to make this a kind of Marvel versus DC because I'm all about making sure everyone knows that there's not really a rivalry and you can like both. But just
Hmm.
in terms of the regular criticisms that get leveled at Marvel, I mean, so we are what 10 months away from when Supergirl will release in cinemas on June 26th, 2026. And it's been in post-production for 6 to 8 weeks already.
Yeah.
It really has gone to visual effects houses for them to work on it for up to 12 months before it's released.
That's really refreshing.
Yeah.
Unheard of at this point.
Yeah, exactly. But before we get to that film, we have Peacemaker season 2, which is releasing in the I think the first episode is in the US on August 21st, which probably means it'll be August 22nd for us here in the UK. Will be on Sky. We've had a couple of trailers. There was a new one that just dropped at San Diego Comic-Con. Were you both fans of season 1? Where are you on your thoughts on Peacemaker?
I've not
Aaron,
seen
you're shaking
one.
your head, so I'm coming to you first.
I've not seen season 1 at all, but it is something I really want to watch. It's one
I thought
of those...
that was like an emphatic, like, I have
No.
no.
No, it's one of the... I think this is something we kind of touched on in a previous episode when we were talking about where the hell to watch Harley Quinn, and it was a similar thing for me with Peacemaker. Like, I didn't realise season 1 was already available because I think it took, similar to Creature
Commandos. It was
Commandos,
a bit delayed getting to us.
Yeah, it took quite a while. So for the life of me, for the last few years, I've been like, I'd really like to watch Peacemaker. Don't actually know where, but now that season 2 is coming out, it might be one of those things to wait for that to fully come out and then just do both all in one go. But I have seen the trailer for season 2. And I'm very intrigued because, again, not knowing much about the show other than who's in it, I'm intrigued to see if this will patch things up in terms of where the last universe kind of abruptly stopped and what bits James Gunn might take and reuse for this.
Yeah. Michael, what about you?
I've sadly not seen either season.
Okay.
I couldn't find it to watch. But it is on my list
now, I would imagine.
I think so. Well, I was Googling then. I've read something the other day that apparently HBO Max is coming to the UK next year, which will...
Should be, and I would imagine that will unify a lot of DC content because there's still some stuff that's never been released in the UK that is available on HBO Max in the US, so I'm hoping that will open the doors to some of that.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I think that will be massive for DC because, again, it's kind of fracturing the audience a bit, which they can't help, but I get it. But yeah, I've not seen it, but I've seen...
Okay.
Like when season 1 came out, it was kind of like death by 1,000 clips on the internet. Like every week, there was like new clips and like every other day. So it is one I really want to watch. It's just I've not had a chance to find it.
Oh well, let's talk about a different show then. So then that will be the first live action show in the DCU. The second live action show in the DCU will be Lanterns, which is due out next year. It's a bit hit and miss as to whether it's going to be before Supergirl or after Supergirl. From some of what James Gunn has said, it sounds like it could be before it. That would be fun because that would kind of fill in some of the gap between Peacemaker, which will end in probably October-ish, November-ish, maybe, depending on how late it... I think it's 10 episodes, so it probably will go through October into November. So we could have a long gap until June. So hopefully Lanterns comes out a little bit earlier than that to fill that up. But described as a true detective-style take on DCU's Hal Jordan, played by Kyle Chandler, and then Jon Stewart, played by Aaron Pierre. And it's also got Kelly MacDonald, Garrett Dillahunt, and will have our other Lantern that everyone has now fallen in love with, the wonderful Nathan Fillion, who debuted in Superman. So... We've gone from Jon Stewart only ever having really appeared in animation, Hal only ever having appeared in the film in whatever year it was, 2011, 2012?
Yeah, 2011, I think.
To suddenly having 3 live-action Lanterns all appearing in one show together. But I'm the true detective bit has me hooked as to what it could be and how it might work.
Yeah, I immediately like the sound of this one because, like, first of all, the cast sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
Obviously, Nathan Fillion left an impact. Whether it's poking that monster in the eye multiple times.
Or that haircut.
Which is perfect. Is the perfect Guy Gardner bowl cut.
Yeah, that haircut should be against your vows has been a phrase that I've adopted into my life. It's great.
Love that. Oh dear.
There's a lot. I mean, there is a lot of lore around the Green
Hmm,
Lanterns. So that's why I find it so interesting that they're talking about it being very True Detective and it being very Earth based, because they're obviously an intergalactic kind of space police agency, I
hmm,
guess is the best way to describe it. There are hundreds of different characters from hundreds of different races that are all Green Lanterns of their own sectors around
hmm,
the galaxy that all converge on the. I mean, actually, to be fair, the film.
hmm.
Can someone please tell me who plays Deadpool? Because I'm having a mental blank.
Ryan
Um,
Ryan
Reynolds.
Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds, thank you. Could not think of his name whatsoever. I could just. I've got Kyle Chandler on my screen, and that's all I could see was Kyle Chandler. Um, the Ryan Reynolds film really got a lot of the lore right in
Hmm,
how they portrayed it. So you have the Guardians who are on Oa, which is kind of the base where the Green Lantern Corps is works out of, but then they're all in their own individual sectors. What is interesting is having Hal, Guy, and John all at the same time be a Green Lantern. So I
hmm,
kind of want to know how they're all going to exist in one space. And I wonder
Yeah,
how
like
big they will go with the sci-fi action when it's also a gritty, true detective style mystery on Earth.
hmm,
yeah, I think the balancing act of like the powers is going to be interesting because yeah, I think there's like obviously a lot of characters that all can kind of do a similar thing.
Yeah,
So curious to see
I
how
guess
they handle
it will
that.
be how differently they each approach it. So Guy
Yeah.
Gardner is very give up the middle finger as he keeps doing with the hand in Superman, whereas Hal is more. I guess he's very traditional in his kind of heroism, where John
hmm,
Stewart is a bit more led by his heart than anything else. So I think it will be how
Mm.
each of them chooses to use the power that they're granted. But it should be really interesting. I don't know how many
hmm,
episodes it is. I know very little about it, other than
Yeah.
James Gunn has said that they've seen some cuts of the first couple of episodes. So they're also in a
hmm,
position where this show is not going to be out for
A
6 to 8
while.
months, maybe, and they've got episodes that are nearly finished.
hmm.
I love it. I'm curious what the mystery is going to be. If it's true crime based, like what are they going
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
investigating? You know?
yeah. Especially with it being Earthbound, because it could, like the origin story that you see in the Ryan Reynolds film is exactly how his origin is in the comics. A Green Lantern crashes to Earth, having been attacked in his ship, and dies, and the Ring chooses Hal, and that's how he becomes a Green Lantern. He's not chosen through the traditional mean, but
Hmm.
if they're all already lanterns, then we've kind of skipped over the origin story again. And I
Mm.
really don't know, but I'm excited to see it. And also Kelly MacDonald being in it. I love Kelly MacDonald in
Hmm.
anything she's in, so that will be interesting to see.
I I think they've done a clever choice with who they've picked for each of the lanterns in terms
Mm,
of giving them an excuse to all exist at the same time. Because
yeah,
you've got Cole Chandler, who is the oldest of the three, I think.
that should be correct because Hal is the one that comes first in terms of Earth's Green Lantern.
Yeah, and it kind of naturally kind of works its way down with him, and then Nathan Fillion, and then Aaron Pierre. So I think there is a nice that should. I mean, I could be completely wrong. The show hasn't even come out yet, but that might be the segue of kind of going that it was him, then it was him, then it was him, but they kind of all still exist at the same rather than one and then the next and then the next and then I feel like that's probably their best approach, but again
Yeah,
I don't know. I also found out on Wikipedia that the the director of Slow Horses, which is another inspiration for
yes,
this show,
he's
has
working on it.
directed. Yeah, he directed the first two episodes, and
Yeah,
apparently
Nice.
tonally they're going to take more, just as much from Slow Horses as they are from True Detective, which I think is a very interesting choice because Slow Horses has got some like very sneaky bits of comedy just weaved throughout
yeah,
it from the bits
yeah,
I've seen of it. Whereas True
Mm.
Detective, again, from what I've seen of it, is very serious, played very seriously, and quite dark. So, again, I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued. I don't know how they're going to pull it off, but I think they've got all the right pieces here
yeah.
um,
Yeah.
for it to work.
And if you're going to go dark and different and don't know how it will work, that brings us to September 2026 and Clayface, which James Gunn has said it was never a film that they planned. It was not in the
Mhm.
plan. It was not one of the ones they announced. It wasn't anything that was on anyone's mind as something that they were going to make. And then the script comes along. surprised them all, and they were like, okay, this is actually kind of awesome. And here we are. It's going into production in the next couple of weeks. I really don't know what it's going to be. All I can think of is the substance. That's the only thing I can think of as what can be what could have inspired a script that would work for a character like Clayface, and that is a film like The Substance. I mean, Mike Flanagan as a writer, great, and great with horror. So let's see. I don't know if I know James Watkins very well as a director, unless somebody can name me one of his films.
I'm just looking at his filmography. He did Eden Lake, The Woman in Black, and last year's remake of Speak No Evil.
He did. He did the James McAvoy version. I was going to say James Cameron. The James McAvoy version. Okay, interesting. Okay, he definitely knows how to do creepy then.
And I've just also seen he's done an episode of Black Mirror, which is probably the most traumatizing episode, which is Shut Up and Dance.
Okay,
that one is that's an interesting choice. If you've seen the episode,
And then we have Tom Rhys-Harris playing Clayface, who people will know from Dot and Bubble of Doctor Who, and plenty of rumors that Naomi Ackie is potentially going to sign on as the female lead.
I'm interested to see it, especially Eden Lake being one of James Watkins. That's one of my favorite films. I didn't even piece that together. That film is crazy.
I don't know it. Explain.
It's essentially this couple get tormented. It's a horror film, so they get tormented by these really nasty older teenagers, and it ends up them just trying to fight for survival. And the ending of the film is honestly so dark and twisted. It doesn't end in a good way. It's quite daring. So I think it's going to be an interesting film, especially because Clayface and Harley Quinn is so comedic. The tonal shift from that to this is going to be crazy.
Yeah, definitely. And then I think the thing that confuses a lot of people as well is that the Clayface in Batman the Animated Series is kind of seen as the traditional version, but that is oh no, I'm going to have a mental blank. That is Matt Hagen, and Matt Hagen traditionally doesn't have the origin of the actor who ends up Clayface. One of the other Clayfaces. Who are the Clayfaces? Because I can't remember his name. They basically mixed the more famous name with the origin of a different version of the character. So Basil Carlo is the actor. Traditionally, Basil Carlo is the actor who gets transformed into Clayface. Matt Hagen is more of a kind of unfortunate, wrong place, wrong time, gets splashed with a chemical, ends up melted kind of origin story. But they mix them together for BTAS. If you watch Batman the Caped Crusader on Prime, they use Basil Carlo and give him the traditional version of the origin story in that, which I wonder if that will be part of the blueprint for this film as well. Because at the moment, it seems like we all think the internet is basically presuming that Tom in this film will be Matt Hagen, but I wonder whether he'll be a Basil Carlo, because the rumor is that he's going to be an actor. I'm saying a lot of words. Somebody else talk.
Wasn't it also confirmed that the the villain for the Batman Part 2 was going to also be Clayface?
I don't think it was ever confirmed. I think it was just a strongly rumored thing, particularly given that I think that was really talked about sort of 6 to 8 months ago, and the script only came in the last few weeks. So I don't know how much truth there is to that.
Okay.
I feel like they set that one up for Mr. Freeze, surely. The way Gotham floods and everything. I feel like that was quite a natural villain.
The Penguin series ending as we're going into winter as well. I wonder whether you're setting up for something a bit Mr. Freeze-esque, which would be very interesting in that world. And perfect segue into the only other confirmed project from DC Studios with a release date, which is the Batman 2 releasing on October the 1st, 2027. Not set in the DCU, but a DC Studios Elseworlds release. Okay, okay, cool. Right, so Michael, I'm coming straight to you, which is would you like Robert Pattinson to be the DCU Batman? Where do you fall on this?
I feel like it makes sense. Him and David Cornsweet are kind of a similar age. His Batman is a very dark contrast to Superman's light. It feels like they're already setting it up in the most beautiful way. It's why not? Also, having Pattinson be Batman and then moving to someone else as Batman feels I don't know. It feels like you're going to like immediately. They're going to be comparing them, kind of like what we've had with other actors in other roles lately, where it's immediately just like pitting them against each other.
So diplomatically put.
Trying to avoid them Snyder people. But yeah, the vice versa is solid, well thought out, and it just makes sense to me. But yeah,
Where do you fall on it,
why
Aaron?
wouldn't you want that? You know?
Are you on side with it, Aaron? Where do you fall on the argument?
Well, as the one guy in a Batman t-shirt,
I'm very diplomatically just DC for those who are listening to this on podcast platforms rather than watching us on YouTube.
I was thinking like, oh, I'll wear a Superman t-shirt. Oh, hang on a minute, I don't have a Superman t-shirt. This is the closest thing. So anyway, it's one of those things where like the more I think about it, I'm still conflicted because, like Michael said, they're about the similar age, and I think timing wise, in terms of how long they have been their respected characters, it's also about the same because in the Batman, he's been Batman for about
Year 2.
3 years. Yeah, year 2. And then obviously going into the next one, it'll be about year 3 or year 4. And then with Superman, he's been Superman for about 3-ish years.
3 years. Yeah.
That kind of nicely plays within each other. I think the one thing that I think, and this is again a very conflicting thing, because I like the fact that with the projects going forward in DC, there will be a distinct shift in tone with each thing. Like Clayface is going to be completely different to Lanterns. Lanterns is going to be completely different to Supergirl, and vice versa. And I really like that, and it's something we're only just starting to see with Marvel a little bit, because Thunderbolts is nothing like Fantastic Four, and neither of them are anything like Ironheart or Agatha all along.
Yeah.
And I like that approach, but at the same time, I'm thinking the Batman was really dark, and will that? It's one of those weird things. I'm not quite convinced in my head. I would like it to be a thing, but at the same time, I don't know. It's one of those things where we're so early on in the DCU, they could literally do anything, and I think it would work.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'd be happy if they did that. But at the same time, if they want to go with another Batman for Brave and the Bold, I'm happy with that either. I don't really mind. I will go with the flow. I will just go with whatever they give us at this rate.
I'm going to be controversial. I don't want it to happen.
Fair enough.
So I think it could work, and I completely agree it could work because the ages are perfect. But we have never had a Bat family on film. We have never had. We obviously had Chris O'Donnell as Robin. Very well done, if far too old. But obviously with Brave and the Bold, the idea, if it remains the idea that James Gunn originally pitched, is that Damian Wayne will exist, meaning that Bruce needs to be old enough to have had a child with Talia al Ghul. And okay, obviously they can play a lot with time. And, not everything has to be exactly as it is in the comics. I'm not saying everything has to be exactly. But in theory, if you were using a comic book timeline, if Damien exists, then you have to have Dick, who has to... I can't say it without laughing. So he has to have been Robin and grown up and become Nightwing. Do you know how hard it was when we were a podcast about Titans? The amount of times I had to say Dick. You have to have had Jason Todd. He has to have been through having been bludgeoned with a crowbar by the Joker and become Red Hood. You have to have had Tim Drake be Robin. You have to have had Stephanie be Spoiler and then be Robin again and then go back to being Spoiler, which means you kind of also need a Barbara Gordon as Batgirl, which kind of also then suggests that the Killing Joke might have happened if she is, in a wheelchair in Oracle, which then leads you to Cassandra Cain, and suddenly you've got like an entire Bat family.
I've just thought of a theory. I don't even know if this would work, but like I know when James Gunn initially made the announcement of like this is everything that's coming up, and he said that the Batman is Elseworlds, and obviously now that line is a little bit blurred, possibly, especially with the introduction of Clayface and new projects that were not in that initial slate. I don't know if this theory is going to work because I literally just thought of it on the spot. But as you're explaining all that, my brain was immediately thinking, "Hang on, what if the Batman and the Brave and the Bold are all in the DCU, but the Batman is like we're being seen the early stages of that same Batman that we will see in the Brave and the Bold, which is the older version. Do you know what I mean? Like they
Yeah,
coexist film wise at the same time, but we're seeing like this is the start of his career, that's the end of his career, so they can all
Yeah.
exist in the same time, and then
well,
all that middle stuff that you explained can
yeah.
still happen, but there is enough ground between
Between
them that they can cover that however they want to.
There were a lot of
And
people for a while that coped by saying that Robert
mm,
Pattinson was just young Ben Affleck
mm,
as well.
I,
Well,
Um,
that makes sense, actually.
when people were
mm,
desperate that Ben Affleck would continue to play Batman, there was a feeling
mm,
of, oh, could Robert Pattinson be the
mm.
origin of Ben Affleck?
And
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a very interesting point.
that is
You could
an
really put
interesting
it forward that
theory.
way.
I do
I do
think it
really want
could.
to see.
Yeah,
Sorry,
no, it's all right. You go.
I was going to say I do really want to see the Bat family come to life. I just
Mm,
hope that all of them, like points you made, like the Killing Joke and all of these
Yeah,
different points.
I
mm,
want
Like
to
I
see
just
all
hope,
of that, all of that,
yeah,
please.
I want to see it all unfold, which makes me kind of hope that if Robert Pattinson sticks around for a while, like maybe he can, like,
I
I
mm,
don't
really
know,
can't
like
envision his Batman with a Robin.
I don't
That's not to
know.
say that
mm,
they shouldn't try, but in my head, it would be a major sell right now to make me believe that Batman
mm,
would ever take on a Robin.
mm. Unless they do
Same
again, I
issue with
don't.
Christian Bale. I could never see Bale taking on a Robin, but then they kind of
No,
almost made me believe it with Joseph Gordon-Levitt in Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah,
yeah, it's one of those things where like they could do a convoluted thing of having. God, this sounds really bad out loud. Three different actors in the same universe. Like you got Robert Pattinson, who is the young one. Then there is an actor playing like middle-aged one, and then there is the old
Uh,
one, Brave and the Bold. Just so you've got those three bases covered. Wait, rather than waiting for Robert Pattinson to get to that right age.
in theory,
Um,
Robert Pattinson. I don't know how old he is off the top of my head. I want to say he's probably mid-30s.
I think so.
yes,
So he's not far off how old Bruce Wayne should be when Damien comes along.
he
39.
is. Yeah, you beat me to it.
So like he's kind of the right age to be fair. Like he is
Yeah,
approaching
Mm,
that like ideal age you'd want Batman to be.
yeah, he
But
is.
yeah.
yeah, and I
I feel
suppose.
like as
Yeah.
oh, sorry. I was gonna say the fun thing about him not being convincing, like in terms of him having like a Robin, I think that's like a
Mm,
fun thing to play with though, because
To then try
Batman,
and sell it. Yeah,
yeah,
mm,
like I feel like Batman's quite a reluctant character to want to work with anyone, like anywhere. So like
mm.
true.
so I think it's quite a fun obstacle to overcome, like especially like in a film environment. I think it'd be cool to see it.
Yeah,
And I think if they did that approach, it would give them thing for things like Clayface, which is obviously going to be a tone completely different to the stuff we've had so far. I feel like it gives them enough of like a loose playground for that, like I said, that middle section of his life where they can pick and choose what they choose to adapt from the comics at the
yeah,
right time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, they could do that. I don't know, but I feel like with what they teased as an Easter egg in Superman, they're leaving it open as like if we want to go that direction, we can
We can.
do, but also the Matt Reeves films can still exist in their own entity separate to the
Mm.
universe. But I think maybe James Gunn's doing that, so it kind of we'll figure that one out when we get to it. But the possibility's there if we want to. But I don't know.
But where you have just gotten us to is the
Mhm,
perfect transitionary point because we're already speculating as to other things that we would like to see happen in the DCU.
mhm,
Um, there was obviously a slate announcement that James Gunn came out with 3 years ago, nearly 3 years ago now, which included a bunch of projects like Brave and the Bold that we just touched on, Swamp Thing, The Authority, Paradise Lost, which is the kind of Game of Thrones esque Themyscira Amazon pre Wonder Woman show. But then there are lots of other projects that have been talked about that are either definitely happening or have been talked about happening. They're in different kind of stages of production. To the list that I had, you had Brave and the Bold, you had Teen Titans, Wonder Woman, Now, Teen Titans was being written by Anna Nogueira, who wrote the Supergirl film. She's moved on to writing Wonder Woman, so I don't know what the status of Teen Titans is, but she is currently working on a Wonder Woman script. You've got Swamp Thing, which has got James Mangold attached to direct, but he is kind of busy doing other things at the moment. James Gunn has said the Authority is sort of in a bit of a weird place. I think he's struggling to figure out exactly where that fits right now. Dynamic Duo, which is this wonderful film that we've not really seen anything of yet, but have heard all about, using real life puppets, but then also some CGI and some live action stuff from this weird mixed media world that's going to tell a story about Dick Grayson and Jason Todd. Then on the TV side, you've got Waller, which is this show that's going to focus on Amanda Waller and where she is right now, that's been in development for a while. Sholo Mariduena is working on Blue Beetle as an animated show, him returning to the role. Booster Gold was in the initial announcement, which would be kind of a more time travel comedy. Then they recently announced a whole bunch of new animated shows. So there's My Adventures with Green Lantern that's spinning out from the My Adventures with Superman cartoon that is such a fan favorite. DC Superpowers, which is more of a younger kids show, which is going to be about a bunch of metahumans kind of in high school, sort of school, learning to use their powers. There's a show about Starfire that's going to be an Elseworld story that's kind of an origin for her from Titans. There's the Mr. Miracle show that's in development at the moment that's got Tom King leading it. Those are just the announced and strongly rumored ones. There's plenty of other things that people could be throwing scripts at, with Clayface having been something that they, decided to make purely because they had a good script. The world is endless, which leads me to, what do you guys want to see?
Well, I was going to say that, like, I'm looking at the Wikipedia timeline in terms of stuff that's announced for DCU, and there are 2 projects at the bottom that are in development apparently, but I know one of them's struggling. That was not on that initial list.
Yep.
There's Sergeant Rock, which I know recently dropped director, because it was going to be Luca Guadagnino, and then he's gone to do something else. And apparently here, an untitled Bane and Deathstroke film, which is news to me.
That was rumored. I don't know that James Gunn has ever said it's real. But I also don't think he's ever said that it is not real, which says to me it's an idea that's probably in development, but not far enough along for them to want to talk about it. I don't know if it's a DCU-based thing or an Elseworlds thing, but an interesting kind of villain team-up.
Yeah.
Love that. I think for me, I mean, I'm solely obvious. I really want to see the Gotham City Sirens done correctly. I feel like them as a trio are like some of my personal favourite characters. Especially Harley. I feel like Harley's such a good character to have.
Yeah.
But more Poison Ivy. I feel like Poison Ivy is a character is not one that we've...
It's amazing that we've only ever had kind of her in live action in Batman and Robin and Gotham, the TV show.
Yeah, and I feel like when you think of like what her as a character stands for and like, like the environmentalism and all that kind of stuff, like the stories, like it writes itself, and I feel like it could be really, really good. But yeah, I do think like a chaotic Gotham City Sirens situation would be the top of my list for sure.
I think if they can make Clayface work without Batman being in it, because the rumor being that there won't be a Batman in it, and I know the rumor is that it's not necessarily all set in Gotham, but if you can find a way to show us Gotham that doesn't have to have Batman in it, and you're still working on Brave and the Bold and trying to pin that down, then show me what other people are doing in Gotham at that time.
I think it'd be really good, and there's just something about those trios of characters, like we all know them really well, so like it feels like with the right script and the right cast, I think it could be really good, and the right director, obviously.
But
and then Teen Titans. I mean, Teen Titans for me, I grew up watching the animated show. I love them to pieces. Raven is obviously a big, like, she's one of my boyfriend's favorite characters, and like Trigon and that entire like story arc is so impressive. So I'd love to see that come to life.
Yeah, that gives you a whole other side of the DCU. I mean, that could then lead into Constantine and Zatanna and all of those magical characters from the Justice League Dark. There's a whole world that even having Raven just opens up massively.
It completely changes the landscape of where it could go. So I think definitely Teen Titans for me. And then my final pick, I think if I was to pick 3, I'd really love them to like give Wonder Woman like a proper solid reimagination. Like obviously we've had a Wonder Woman, but I would like them to give it another shot. I think there's still something to her as a character that we've not seen on screen. So Yeah.
Aaron, what else are you thinking?
Well, off the top of my head, you actually mentioned the two things that were at the top of my head, which were Justice League Dark and Zatanna.
Yeah,
Because I feel like if they open up that sort of dark magical aspect of the DCU, I feel like that would be, I don't know, it would be something we've not really seen in DC before, and I think they
yeah,
could. I know what I mean when I say this. They could take elements that work from Marvel on this one, like with the whole Agatha aspect,
yeah,
and Wanda and all that sort of stuff, and even Doctor Strange too, to an extent, and kind of take those elements and make them work here. Um, those are kind of the top ones in my head. Again, because I like the fact that each thing is going for a different tone in a different genre. Like I think they were trying to do Sergeant Rock, I think they said it was going to be a war film.
yeah. It would be.
Um, yeah, so I don't know. I'm just intrigued. I think the one thing I'd like to see, and again, could work really well in terms of establishing the Gotham side of the DCU. And I know this was something they were planning to do for Matt Reeves's universe, but they kind of just haven't gone further with it. Is just a series about and set around Arkham Asylum to get
Yeah,
us used to how they're approaching the villains of the series.
yeah,
Um, because and this kind of is something where they could do a solo project on this, similar to Clayface, or they could weave it into that. Is that I just want to see like a proper scary version of Scarecrow on screen. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Cillian Murphy and I love what they did with Batman Begins, but I want to see like something akin to the Arkham games
yeah,
on
Yeah.
screen. Like, you could make a brilliant horror film just out of Scarecrow on his own.
yeah,
And again,
Yeah.
that could work as a nice companion piece to Clayface if they're both going for that horror angle. Um, like, I think something said here that Clayface is going for something along the lines of The Fly, tonally.
yes. That's been totally
Um,
mentioned. Yeah,
yeah, I think Peter Safran mentioned it in an interview.
yeah,
And they could go for something a bit more psychological with Scarecrow, and then those two could then set up something a bit wider that's just focused on the inmates of Arkham Asylum, and then
Mm.
that kind of nicely does your world building for you, um, without having to rely on, again, similar to what you guys were saying, without having to rely on just something that's got Batman in it.
yeah,
Yeah.
That kind of does the job on the side, and it doesn't have to have Batman in it. But I think those would be the top things on my list. I think also because Justice League Dark and Zatanna haven't been done in live action before, I'd be intrigued to see how they do those.
yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
but yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I want to go for the darker stuff.
Yeah.
Me, all of it. Give me all of it. Give me every character. I don't know. It would be so difficult for me to pick, but I would have to say that my number one thing would be a Batgirl film, and I don't
Mm,
mean unlock the archive and pull out the one that you scrapped because I trust that there was a reason why that was never seen,
mm,
even
Yeah.
though the footage that I've seen from it looks very exciting. Um, give me a good version of that character. Give me
mm.
Barbara Gordon. Give me her origin. Give me all the fun things of Batgirl Year One. Tie her relationship in with Robin and Dick Grayson because, sorry to Starfire and Nightwing fans, but I am hashtag Dick Babs all the way. That's the name. That is the ship name. It is Dick Babs. I'm not being rude.
These names are crazy.
Um, Hey,
Hashtag
before
Dick
you were
Bab.
born, we had to deal with hashtag Spuffy for the Spike and Buffy fans. That was a horrible one. I never liked Spuffy.
That's rough.
Yeah. I like what you said about Wonder Woman, though. I think it would be interesting if they could find a way to do the Hippolyta crafting her out of clay on the beach and bringing her to life as a
Mm.
clay baby would be really interesting to see like carried out on film. Um, and I do feel like James Gunn is putting a lot on the Amazons and Themyscira with the fact that Paradise Lost had been in that initial slate, and
Mm,
how and I don't want to spoil anything because I don't think either of you have watched it, but how important the Amazons are in Creature Commandos, which was unexpected given that there wasn't a Wonder Woman kind of project announced other than this kind of pre
mm,
Wonder Woman TV show. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm interested to know politically what he would like to do with the Amazons because I think he's cooking something. Um,
mm.
Teen Titans,
Okay.
absolutely would love to see them together on film. I am really intrigued by dynamic duo and this idea of the puppetry and how you can do puppetry and live action. I think that could be, it could just not work, or it could be beautiful. So I'm really intrigued by that. I
Mm.
would like them to announce more Harley Quinn. Please keep Kaylee Cuoco in that role. We need a season 6 because season 5 was just incredible. I'm going to, however, go on record and say I think I know what might come next, because James Gunn has talked about the fact that he's working on a sequel that's not a direct sequel to Superman, and that's what he's writing at the moment.
Mm.
He said, if you want a direct sequel, go and watch Peacemaker, which is very interesting to me because I don't quite know what in Peacemaker is going to make it a direct sequel to Superman, other than Rick Flag Senior carrying through. So Frank Grillo having gone from being introduced in Creature Commandos into Superman into Peacemaker. However, I think what this not direct Superman sequel that has a quote unquote major role for Superman in it will be a Superman Supergirl team up with Brainiac coming to Earth to attack. That's what I'm fingers crossed for, and I'm planting my flag in the sand that that's what I think he's working on. Is going to be the two of them teaming up for what will be the next kind of movie to be announced.
That'd be so good.
Yeah,
I'd love that.
I think that's what I think we're building out Metropolis and the Kryptonians to then bring in a slightly more global threat that would maybe catch the attention of. Did you want to be on camera? Do you have an opinion? Might catch the attention of other heroes who are on this earth to maybe start bringing different combinations of characters together, maybe forming a league down the line, if you get what I mean, like starting to edge the pieces together towards that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts on it. I think we're kind of probably at a natural end to the conversation. There's not really any other projects or sort of rumors to go on at the moment. I think there's just a lot of goodwill based off of how well Superman has performed, and a lot of excitement seeing how well this world is already realized just based off one film and one animated series. Do we all agree? Do we think the future looks bright right now?
Yes.
Very.
There you go. Resounding answer. Which actually kind of leads me into what we might be talking about in our next episode coming up in a couple of weeks. Now, fingers crossed, there might be some interviews around the second season of Peacemaker. We are waiting to find out if and who we might be talking to and when we might see it. But certainly when we're back for another episode, I'm hoping that I will have at least seen some and can talk a bit about what's happening in Peacemaker Season 2. I also want to talk about Alien Earth. So if anybody fancies talking with me about the new Alien show, I went to the premiere of it last week. I just chatted to some of the cast, and I've seen most of the season. So I'm kind of itching to talk about that, but it's under embargo at the moment. But planning on that being quite a major focus in our next episode. Before we sign off, things that you guys are up to at the moment. Michael, you're now on camera a hell of a lot more than I have ever seen you before, TikToking to like extreme amounts, and you're just everywhere gaming and doing other things. What are you cooking at the moment?
I'm just tormenting the internet, to be honest. We're obviously doing a lot of reviews and a lot of live streaming of games. So if you want to check that out, you can follow me at The Digital Spiral. And then obviously reviewing comic books at Get Your Comic On. We're currently...
There's a Poison Ivy out this week, by the way. Did you want it?
Of course I do.
But coming to you very soon.
But yeah, I'm just kind of looking ahead at what's coming up and getting excited for all of the new juicy films. Mortal Kombat 2 is very much seared into the brain at the minute. But yeah, so checking out all the new films and live streaming games and comics, of course.
Aaron, what about you? What are you up to?
I'm glad you went to Michael first because I don't really have an answer. Life's been hectic, but I will get back into the swing of my YouTube channel especially because there's so many releases in just July alone, half of which I haven't discussed. I think the last film I discussed on there was Jurassic World Rebirth. So there's definitely stuff I haven't talked about that would make for good videos. I just need to find the time. And then, like Michael said, reviewing comic books on Get Your Comic On. Yeah. I don't know. I'm always bad at this section. I know what's coming up, but then I'm like, I don't know.
Well, thank you both for joining me to talk about DCU. It's always nice to talk about DC with other people, other than, like I do in my head 24/7, being the DC shill that I am. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Please do like, share, thumbs up, whatever platform you're on. Do something positive. Leave us a review if you feel like it, because it helps us find more listeners and more watchers. Until next time, please do stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you very soon. Bye. Thanks for watching, Super Friends. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to hit the subscribe button just down below and hit the bell so that you can get notified whenever we release brand new videos. In fact, there's 2 more waiting for you to watch right here below. So what are you waiting for? Why not click play?